If you are a coach, content creator, personal brand, somebody who is building a business online and you always dreamed about creating your own physical product, then this video is for you. I have taken this step. I'm very excited because it has been a dream of mine for a long time. And today I brought you the person who made my dream come true, which is Laura Bull. She helped me to develop and launch and now sell these physical products. And today we have the opportunity to ask her all of the questions that my customers and people in my audience had about creating their own physical products. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be speaking with you about it.
I'm so excited to have you because we get these questions all the time now, and it's a good opportunity to basically give some things back to the audience after the beautiful launch that we had. So, Laura, the first thing is I get the question, should I create a physical product, right? And so when is a good time to create a physical product? Who should even think about it? Is it something for everyone? How do you think about these things?
Mm-hmm. The way I like to think about this is it depends on what you like yourself as well. I think if you are a stationery lover, you don't have to be a lover, but if you like to use paper products to think, or you use these tools yourself, I think you could even start earlier in a journey and consider creating a physical product business out of something that you've learned in life and that you want to share with others. But if you already have a educational business or you're a content creator around a certain topic, you can combine both businesses and create a physical tool like a planner, card deck, journal, and so on to complement what you're already doing.
Beautiful. So it's if you have an affinity towards the physical products, for sure, right? So if it's also a dream of yours, and then I hear what you're saying is you don't necessarily need to have a digital business first. You could also have a purely physical product business. Yeah. Now, how would the type of physical product business you recommend to create differ from any other e-commerce venture?
So what we specialize in is creating impactful stationery, meaning that there's content in the product. So the product is for a specific reason, for a specific niche, and helps a person go from a point A to point B. And different to what you will find in most stores where you have like regular calendars or you have like empty notebooks, these products are there with specific questions or exercises to guide a person through a process. So that is what I would say it's different. And in comparison to like a regular e-commerce business, it's hard to compare because there's so many different types of e-commerce businesses. But what makes this special is that you are creating a unique product for a relatively low investment in comparison to creating a different type of unique product where you can sometimes need 50, 100K or even more to create something from the ground.
Yeah, so I kind of want to share with my audience what blew my mind and what finally pushed me over the edge to do this, because I've always been dreaming about this. I actually always wanted to be an author and write my own book. And because it's such a big dream, I am so perfectionistic about this that I just always got stuck with it, right? So I feel like I still have to live 20 years to write the book that I want to write. So I kept postponing the dream. And then I once listened into one of Laura's live trainings. She also has a YouTube channel, gives amazing content away for free. And I tuned into one of her live trainings and she dropped something where I was like, oh, this is making all the sense for me in the world. Because she was like, we're taking these products that are standardized to create and we are making them highly differentiated and uncopyable, not only through the design, but through the intellectual property that is in there. And I was like, this is so brilliant because you basically have the cost structure and efficiency of a white label product, right? With the uniqueness of a product that you completely created basically from scratch. So when we talk about physical products, we talk about a mold fee, months of research, development, samples back and forth,
lab testing. Like there's so much that goes into like creating a unique product people are not aware of, which is not the case with a stationary product. And I was also coming from the e-commerce space. I used to sell beauty products, electronic products. I was in the private label space. And to create your own product that is not just something that everyone else can sell just with a logo put on it was very difficult to do. And when I realized, hold on, a printed product is unique through the content that you print on it, that's when it made like, oh my God, this is like a gold mine from an e-commerce perspective, because for relatively low risk, you can create something that's very unique and can stand out. And also what makes this special is that you decommoditize your product by the value that you give through the content of the product. So people are no longer buying like, oh, this is a notebook with pages. Like they're buying the system that the product brings them.
Yeah.
And with that, you have a different perceived value, and you don't necessarily sell a planner, like a really nice planner. You don't get that for $5, right? Like it's something that costs more than $20, and that's like something that's general. It's normal, right? So, and that is coming through the content as well, you know?
I thought that was so incredibly brilliant, and that's ultimately what made me realize this is something I have to do right now, because it is such a good opportunity from a margin perspective. And then also from, you know, like you said, I can completely detach this from the regular price you can command for a planner, because there's a lot of story behind it. We based it on what I was training in my mastermind, which is based on building an online business from low ticket to 9 million. So there's years upon years of experience in there, and which basically allows me to command a different price. At the same time, the production is equal to a planner where we might not be able to ask more than, you know, $12, $15, for example.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good opportunity from that perspective of making e-commerce work from a margin perspective, but then also, again, from a competition perspective. Here, nobody can recreate this, basically. And the beautiful thing that it also does is, you know, on one hand, you can say your personal brand decommoditizes this as well, right? Because it's the story that you tell, it's the audience that you have, that you can also use to have that initial launch. And at the same time, it also builds your personal brand, right? Because that's the experience that we had when we were launching this. And that was, to me, the most mind-blowing thing. I actually called Laura. I was like, Laura, this is crazy. We were pre-selling this from a Facebook ad with the sample, and strangers, complete strangers, were buying into the product. And I was like, oh, you know, what made you buy this? And they were like, I find this so cool that you have a planner and that you do this pre-launch. And it really elevated my product. It got my whole audience so excited. And it almost feels to them as well like I wrote my own book, you know, without it being all of that. It's just frankly very transparent. And a lot more work needs to go into a full-on book than into a planner. Although we did a lot of work. Maybe we can talk about that next. Yeah. What's the work that needs to actually go into creating a physical product, stationery, that's truly impactful? And does it always have to be a planner?
No, it does not always have to be a planner. It can be a card deck. It can be even a game. I really like game products as well. Anything that can be printed. We have done vision board related products, planners, of course. In your case, we also have like a tier of pad that we've created. And the way I like to think about it is that the product is there to help a person implement. So it's not that we just want to create value, right? Like this is supposed to help the person go through something and implement. And the way that we think of a product, no matter what it is, you know, because they are so different, but we always think of like the A to B journey, like where are they before, what are they doing differently, how are they feeling differently, and so on, and where do we want to get them afterwards, like what is the progress? And the progress is basically the product. And there are different types of methods that will require different types of products. Sometimes it's a step-by-step product, where you go through like, hey, this is phase 1. These are the exercises that you're doing. And you go until you have like a conclusion in the end, like, yeah, you've done it. Or you have a product that's more like a practice product. Like here in this case, we have more of a practice product that you use every day. But there are also journals where you might have like a habit that you're forming. Here we have sort of like a combination of both, right? Because you're going through like a workbookish beginning to set like the foundation, and then you have like a weekly planner, and then you're reflecting and also like looking at your KPIs. So it's a bit of both, and it's helping. It's like meant to be a practical tool that the person can use to take what they're learning from you and then implement it. But even if they didn't know you, they would be able to use it.
Yeah, what I love so much about it is we actually talked about it today, because Laura was driving to me. We are in Styria right now. She came all the way from Germany, 4 hours, and so she was like, "Oh, it was really nice. I listened to my audiobook," and I had anticipated, because I know you now for a few years. If you didn't know, Laura was, I think, my second online client, right? And then she built like a multi-7-figure Amazon empire with her experience, everything. But you also did very, very well in the online education space. So we've known each other for a few years. And so my guess was just, she must have listened to some sort of entrepreneur book, etc. And so we are at breakfast and she's like, "Oh, I listened to a fantasy book. There's something with dragons." And I'm like, "That's interesting. I didn't think of that." And she was like, "Yeah, I actually can't listen to too much stuff anymore. At this point, it's just triggering." And so that's interesting, because for me, it's the same experience. I listened to a lot of entrepreneur YouTube that is genuinely valuable. And at a certain point, you just feel like, I know what I need to do and I just need to do it. And I want to stop listening to other things, because it just triggers me, it distracts me, it confuses me. It might lead me on a different path, even if the information is like genuinely valuable, but it feels like it kind of works against me to always have information. So I feel there's diminishing returns to us putting out free value or paid value that people can listen to. And the same even goes, I think, for a book. If I was in your office, you have books all the way up to the ceiling. I have books upon books here. Yeah. And there's something about reading a book, right? And then thinking about it and maybe implementing something, versus sitting down, right? And first, without any distractions, without the help of AI, just you and your thoughts. You having to sit with it, you having to articulate it, you really having to think and feel it through. When do we take the time to do this? We don't, right? So it's just always consumption. There's very rarely we take the time to really give birth to something from within us, right? So it's like we're constantly pulling into us, we're never pulling out of us. So that's what I really love about it being designed in this way, that you have to fill it and you cannot be dishonest about the progress, because if you just read it, the pages are still empty. So it forces you also to kind of see how much action have you actually taken. So it's a nice mirror in that sense. And just by the way that it's built to help you make progress, it also puts you into the right setting of, you're doing a different thing. You're not consuming again, adding more to this huge bubble of opportunities and shoulds, right? So, but you really are pouring from within you and you're getting clear, what are the next steps? So you pulling it out, and then you make that plan. And then, like you said, we build it actually hybrid, that it helps you to get to that point where you have that clarity for yourself, and then you execute against it on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what I have fallen so in love with. It clarifies where you're headed, what needs to be done, and then it helps you to kind of measure the progress, the execution against that on a day-to-day basis. But you helped me to get it done from like all of that content, all of that insight, all of the experience that I have, that I've been trying to pass on to people, that maybe partially just paralyzes them more, because it's just more input. So can you maybe talk to how much work goes into making it so simple, and how you think about the usability of it?
Yeah, I think we live in a very interesting time where most of us suffer of overconsumption, right? Mm-hmm. And consuming can feel very productive. And what these products are meant to do is to like guide you into implementation. Mm-hmm. And what I believe makes a really good product that you can use for implementation is to strip it as much as possible, because then it overwhelms you less. It will still overwhelm you, because facing your goals will always sort of overwhelm you. It's part of the journey, but it is meant to help you implement as much as possible. And it's very counterintuitive to the digital space, because that's where we learn more is more, right? Like more is more. With a physical product, more is not more, less is more, because then the person is more likely to implement. And sometimes you don't need to give them as much context, because the person finds their own context, because it can come from within. And what I love about it being physical is the thinking on paper is very, very powerful, because it slows us down so much, because we cannot write as quickly as we think. And if we are writing and thinking, answering questions, we become very self-aware of what it is that we are truly thinking. Maybe we didn't know what our limitations were, or what our true desires were, or we noticed like certain blind spots, bottlenecks, a lot more when we are facing the paper. And that's what I love about these products. And the development of these products is that I always think of the A to B journey, the main framework that I work with. Where are they before? What are they doing, feeling, thinking, believing before? Where do I want to get them? And what's the progress that I want them to make? So I don't think of like, oh, afterwards they have everything, because that's not possible. But like, what realistic progress can I give them towards like whatever topic it is? And how can I bring forward the guiding principles? So in your case, we've been thinking a lot about like, you teach many things, but there are always certain principles that are like your prime principles that you follow. And I've seen you over the years a lot, and the self-management sheet, like that has been one thing that I've witnessed over a long time, that you came back and back, and also you share it often, that that's something that you use a lot. And also when I was sitting in Vienna and I was listening to you, and you were talking about like the four, like in my mind I see them as 4 different pillars, right? Every business needs them, you know, you need to think of like the leads, and to me it was just like such a bulb moment. I talked to others, for them it was as well. I'm like, okay, this is one principle that makes you so powerful, because you always follow, and it's like second nature to you. You do this, but for many others it's not. And just having the reminder every week, hold on, Laura, think of all the different pillars for your business so you can grow and scale truly. So that's what we decided to put into the product.
I'm actually so grateful that you have done this for me, because you also have been going through all my programs. You have consumed all my content, and you basically have created this as a mastermind student for yourself, because you were like, I need this tool from you, Evelyn, so that I can stay focused on what you teach. When you picked that journey, right, and we were mapping it out, can you help us understand how were we getting to that first draft? And then how did we simplify it from there? What did we add? Why did we decide to add? And maybe is there some first principles you follow with that, right? That we can maybe just use this as an example.
So the way that I like to approach it when I create a product, or when I think of product creation in general, is that I go through the A to B journey. It's always my go-to thing, and I try to embody empathy in a way. So I want to put myself in the user's shoes, and I think of the different stages. Okay, what are questions that I ask myself? Where do I need more clarity ahead of time? Does it make sense for me to focus on all the 4 pillars if I'm not aware of my bottlenecks, right? Like, and I ask you a lot of questions, right? So we were going through lots of conversations, what the different stages, or the mindset, or the worries as well can be of the person using the product. And that's what I try to help people with as well when they create the product. Like, you want to really put yourself in the shoes of the person, less of thinking, okay, what content can I give them? It's like, okay, if I was there, and like, what would we do to implement? So I think a lot of implementation.
Yeah. I think what this also helped me so much to do is, if I now look at this, it is the cleanest, overarching first principle tool I have across anything I do. And what it allowed me to do, to have these products and now teach with these products, is that whenever I teach something, I realize how I've been always doing the same thing over and over again in different containers for different outcomes, but it's basically the same approach that always shines through. And now I'm so much more capable in articulating it and using it. So I feel like it also helped me to master my method and see it even clearer and see even clearer what actually sets me apart, right? What makes me different? What are the things that work so uniquely for me? So in a very real sense, it also has made me more of an expert in the things that I do because I had to adapt to this delivery format. And I think that's a big, big gift for everybody who creates transformation, coaches, mentors, helps others, creates content and wants to create their own signature framework. Creating a physical product like that will force you to get really, really clean in your thinking and approach it from a first principle perspective.
Yes, and we went through it again and again. The cleanup is the hardest bit of creating a product because you're using the pages, and anytime when you create a physical product and you have like digitally your content, you print it, you use it, suddenly you notice like, hold on, this prompt does not make sense. Like on paper, suddenly the content has a different, you just experience it differently because you're actually experiencing it in a different way. That forces you to think your own framework through a lot.
Yeah.
I was recently creating my own product and I had to go through it again and again. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to clean this up so much. But it does what you just said, like it helps you refine your own framework a lot, and you notice things that are given to you. You're like, oh, this is a guiding principle that I see in many different ways. Like even if you have different tactics in your business, you're still following like a guiding principle. And also that makes it very timeless because that won't change in 5 years. It doesn't change with AI. It doesn't change with anything because it's just still a guiding principle that no matter what happens in the world, it will be relevant.
It's almost like what we do online with the content is like a digital camera, right? So, you know, when the digital cameras came out and we just made a gazillion pictures and we never looked at them again. I feel like creating content online and even creating content in communities, which is such a big trend right now, it's so fast, right? It's so in real time, but then it's also, it can be gone or drowned out like really, really quickly. And we barely get to revisit the things over and over and over again, also because that's not that pace of that setting.
Yeah.
But here it's almost like when we had the cameras with the film and we only had like, I don't know what, 20. So every picture we were taking, we really had to think about it and we really had to be so mindful about it, and we treasured them and we looked at them again and again. So it has it's a different type of value that you produce. And like you said, it is really timeless, which also, this takes off so much pressure from me for creation as well, because I know, like you said, this is something from the principles in here, I will be able to work with this in 10 years from now, which is really great. So maybe can you walk us through also from a logistical side? So we're thinking about this, right? We're thinking about the transformation. There's different stationary products we can choose from. Like you said, there's games, cards, pads where we can have worksheets. There is the planners, journals. Now, do we need to research how are these selling? Because I know that when we talked about it, you did look into, we should create a business planner. How do you basically research what kind of niche and what kind of product? Is that important at all?
I would say it was more important a few years ago than it is now, because the market is shifting so quickly that it is hard to keep up with trends. And I also think a lot more long term these days, and I want to create a product that is like a classical car, right? Like where it doesn't have to be the fastest, it doesn't have to be like the most modern new computer, and in 2 years it's irrelevant. Like, no, it's like your Mustang of the 60s and then it will be in 10 years irrelevant, you know. And the way that I like to think about it is, and also the people that I saw have the most success, I want you to have a product that you really want to create. You don't have to be the biggest expert, like you have lots of expertise, but even like when I got started in the topic that I got started with stationery, I had no expertise in that. Like I created an ADHD planner, right? I did that because I have ADHD myself, but I also knew people were wanting it. So there is some form of market validation that this is something that is required. So if I think of research, you want to validate that, okay, this is something people are aware of and they want
Product like this exists, basically.
Yes. Or the problem that you're trying to solve, people are aware of the problem and they search for solutions. Even if, let's say, you want to create something around menopause and there's no menopause planner out there, it's fine. You can still create one as long as you have awareness of the problem is known, people are aware of it and they're looking for solutions. Then you can create a product out of it. But I found that a lot of the products that found success were because the person really wanted to have something like this on the market, either for themselves or for someone they cared or for their clients.
Yeah, I think that's so important what you said as well, is to not see it as another business opportunity or revenue stream, right? Although it does bring revenue and it is an opportunity to grow our business, we don't want to reduce it to that, because it basically, for me, where I see this now, when we started talking about it, for me, it was somewhat clear that I want to build something that lasts longer and where I can build value that is not dependent on me showing up all the time. So I just want to be transparent about that as well. I found that idea of having a physical product I can sell that delivers value as is without me being there and coaching and answering questions and giving feedback and recording new content. I really loved that idea. And then I was, like I said, very surprised in how much more it did for my personal brand, for my understanding of my method, for in general how I now think about my method and helping people, and also how I basically embedded in the whole business, right? It's a huge credibility tool, especially in markets where trust is so low when you have your own physical products. It really makes you stand out because not a lot of people have it. Some people have some merch, right? Which is like from print on demand stores or things like that. But people know these things, right? And having something that is so high value production. Also, this is, I don't know if you can see this, but this is going deep in here. It's a really nice material. You don't see a lot of people having things like this, and based on that alone, it helps you to establish some credibility on socials and when people come across you for the first time quickly. So I think that's how people should see it, right? So it's a long-term asset in their business. It's not like the next get-rich-quick opportunity.
Yeah, I would see it as like a leverage for your business, because it can give you book credibility and authority without having to write a whole book. And at the same time, it is something that people can use as well and have some progress, which again gives you a lot of trust. And in today's world, I find information alone has lost a lot of value just in the last few years. I mean, we've seen that content and doing something where it's obvious you had to manufacture it, you had to design it, like you had to create, like most likely you won't be a scam.
Yes.
Like it gives you some like seriousness to it, like you're legit, like, and not only legit, like you value doing things that are well done. And I think that just gives you an additional layer of invisible trust that is not conscious, but I think it's just like observed by others that can help other parts of your business as well. And I think especially for those that want to establish themselves and want to say like, hey, I'm credible, I'm doing these amazing things, I'm helping a lot of people, I want to put this now in a different way. I think this can be a beautiful long-term thing as well, where you don't have to, like, I find that some of the digital offers can age like milk.
Yes.
Right? Like it
yes.
It's just an ebook used to be great a few years ago. Now it's not considered worth anything.
Honestly, I just thought about this. Obviously, there are some exceptions because they have exceptional brands. but most people, when they write a book, you now just look at it and you're like, yeah, you ChatGPT that. Unfortunately, with AI, a lot of the authorship has also been devalued. Not necessarily for people that already have a strong personal brand, right? Because they will already have built that trust and the assumption of value and that their work is good. But for a lot of people, it's just like, this is AI anyways. And so the value of this also, because it is also beautiful and it has the process in it, I feel like it's less vulnerable to being perceived as, oh, you just AI'd this anyways.
I think when it comes down to is effort, right? Like this is something that takes effort. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to and we can talk about it in a moment, because this is something that you need a lot of patience for, right? It will work for you long term, but to get it on the market also takes some time. And I think just that effort helps with that trust as well, because this is a high effort thing. And I think why we devalue a lot of AI content is because it's low effort, because we know, oh, you didn't really have to spend much time. And we start value handmade things. Why do we value them so much? Because someone had to put quite a bit of effort in it too. So I think, and from my perception, I find that that is increasing in value again, like human made and things that took time and took quality. And I think that has even now a much bigger impact on your personal brand, especially if you're like up and growing, where you have to do a lot more than people had to do 5 years ago just to be seen. So I think that can really help.
It definitely adds a lot of legitimacy. I have now more and more clients also from Austria and Germany, although all my offers are English speaking. And what I have is I have a few beautiful people that are kind of more locally. They see me like a little bit as a hidden gem that they found, and it's cool that I'm Austrian as well. And one lovely person messaged me, she's a doctor actually, and she was like, I bought some for my friends. I can't wait until they are here and I give them in their hands. And now for me, just the thought that these will be in someone's home, maybe on their desk or on their nightstand. And I don't know, it's just really beautiful. It makes me also feel like I'm really leaving something behind as well. So maybe can we talk to like, what's the journey to prepare for when you do something like this?
So you need to be prepared that this is going to take some time and it's going to take investment to do it. So from a timeline perspective, the content creation, that's going to, of course, depend how long that takes, but I like to calculate a lot of extra time for it because of the editing. The editing is what takes the most time. It can take months sometimes. From idea to having a product in your hand, calculate with at least 6 months to 9 months. That's the most realistic. From an investment point of view, it depends on what type of product, of course, what finishes, sizes, color, how much content. But to give like a rough idea.
We can also say exactly what we paid if you, I'm open if you want to share.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of product, so we paid a lot more. But per piece, we pay around $3 per piece, but we get thousands of pieces. And if someone is starting, I don't recommend starting below 1,000 pieces, because if you get less than 1,000 pieces, your per piece price goes up so much, it's not worth it. Might as well get 1,000 pieces. That's the best, most cost-effective way of doing it. Here, I think, I don't have the exact pricing in my mind, but I think around a dollar something per piece. So you see, every product is going to be a little bit different. A card deck might be around $2 for 1,000 pieces. Of course, this is considering our manufacturing. If you go on your own and you contact a manufacturer, a few things you want to look out for, right? Like you want to make sure that the manufacturer that you contact is specialized in notebook or journal making and is a printer. No merch. If they also create caps and t-shirts, run away, because that's not the type of quality that you want. Because a physical product will only have an elevated effect on your brand and on the perception and also on the client experience if it's well made. Even print on demand, it can have the opposite effect where people are like, oh wow, you didn't really put a lot of effort in this.
Yeah, I've seen it personally. I bought like journals, and then they were print on demand, and I was like, this is really yucky. Like the you know, the color from the pen was coming through on the pages and all of that. So
yeah, so it won't have that effect. So you, in order to make sure that you get a good manufacturer, it has to be a specialist. You will notice if it's a specialist by asking a few questions like what material options they have, what type of printing machines they use, how many printing, like I tend to ask these questions to get a sense how big they are. You can find them usually at trade shows. That's when you find professional printers, and there are also sites like Alibaba.com where you can find them.
is the professional ones on there?
There are
Okay.
some. It's a lot more hit and miss, of course. Alibaba has all sorts of different things, but what you can look through is when you look at the profile, how big the company is, how long it has been around, and if they specialize. The specialization is the most important bit, because if they create all sorts of different products, they are not mastering one product, and they have to, otherwise they don't have all the machinery that's important. Because even to create a planner like this, there are at least 15 big machines involved.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite, just from the cover creation, just there's a special machine that puts these ribbons in, that glues this paper to the cover, like that, a page sorting machine. So I visited a lot of manufacturers and wanted to understand a lot of how this printing process works. And the more you are in there, the more you also notice the different types of qualities and how important these things are.
I think that's so important, right? Because that's what people want to know. It's like, where do I order something like this? And it's not so simple, because you have to be able to articulate what you want.
Yeah.
How much can the manufacturers help you with the product development? Do they give recommendations, or do you really have to know what you want? Do you have to be mindful, like what they recommend? Do you get a sales rep? Like, how does all of that work?
Usually you get a sales rep, and then they can make some recommendations, but usually they require you to know what you want. Also, when you ask too many questions, you give away that you know
that you're a beginner.
And then it gets very expensive. So the pricing that I was mentioning earlier is because we have like very long relationships. If someone reaches out to a manufacturer, I think they can expect for something like this more like $9 per piece price point. Just to give a realistic,
you would be paying $9.
Yeah.
How are you able to get so good prices with them?
Because we have high volume. So we produce around 500,000 products with our manufacturers. And I've visited them. I'm visiting just next week in Frankfurt. I'm visiting a few of our manufacturers, meeting them. So over the years, I've developed a lot of relationships. And because I, with time, ordered more, and our group became bigger. So we do something that's, we call it group purchasing, where we have one profile with the manufacturer, and they see all the different orders as basically one customer. And that gives us the advantage of getting like really good pricing, even if someone only orders 1,000. For us, 1,000 might sound a lot. For a printing company, that's like a joke to them, you know, because they are used to like 50,000, 100,000 pieces.
I think that's what people just don't understand. It's like, we are solopreneurs, right? We are in the creator economy. So we are used to be able to do so much as a single person, and we get like this false sense of confidence. And then we're going to a company like this, and, you know, we're like, oh yeah, 2,000 pieces. And they're like, oh, that's cute. You know, they don't even want to waste their time on us, because they have other customers that are so much more important, that push so much more value. And I think that's something that people really also need to understand. Is like, you are a very, very, very small fish for a lot of these companies as well.
Yes, exactly. Which often leads to people not replying. Like the good manufacturers won't work with you oftentimes. Like, so
you also have no negotiation power, right? So
yeah.
Basically, because they're doing you a favor even processing your order. For them, it's probably not even very profitable, right?
Yeah.
If they look at you, they probably are better off not taking you on as a customer, because they can make very little money off.
And you will have 1,000 questions why someone that orders 10,000 pieces, that has been doing this for a while, or it's like a professional company that, you know, might be a retailer or something, it's different for them because they don't need to explain the materials, they don't need to explain all of these different things. Yeah.
And so basically where you sit is you are in the middle and you help the person like myself with the dream to understand what are we trying to accomplish even, because I wouldn't know. And like you said, I have a lot of experience, but none with this. So to even know what type of product do we want to do. Also the design, right? You help with that because while the company can maybe give you some input on the design, you cannot just go to the manufacturer and say, I want you to design this, right? So the whole like product development process, the design process, getting all of the question answered, and then reaching out professionally to the contractors. Do you do this for people or do you teach them how to professionally reach out?
So there are two different things that I help people with. So from the manufacturing point of view, what we offer is, hey, you can become part of our group, means that you get group purchasing advantages, pricing like you got, right? And you'll be able to start at 1,000 pieces, and we can help you and connect you to our manufacturers. We answer your questions, we help you, and we communicate with the manufacturer on your behalf. That's one of the things that we do. And then we also have a purely educational membership where they learn how to do it, how do you methodize, no, how do you productize
your method.
Yeah. And how do you find a designer, what to look for, why we don't use Canva to design, why a designer has to use a certain program, and so on. So we teach all of the different bits so that you can do this on your own.
So you still have like a very accessible version. So even if, because we also want to democratize the opportunity as much as possible, you do have an opportunity where people can go and learn themselves. And at the same time, they have to be prepared that it means you have the information and you have to walk the path, basically.
Yes.
And be prepared.
In the community, they can also ask the questions, and we guide them on the different steps that they need to take and also how they can find a manufacturer. But the manufacturing bit is separate. It's basically you joining the group so that you're part of our collective, basically, and purchasing power, which makes then the difference on
the price,
on the pricing and all of that.
Yeah. I really loved it about your model. And I think that's also what Alex said, right? It's so smart because basically the price of the collective, you're saving that in order cost for the manufacturer and you get more help and access. So I really love that. Now for the person, maybe even in the collective, but maybe even also the person started earlier, if they now don't have like the biggest funds or they don't know how much to order, what can they do, which is also what we did to basically cover their order and make sure that they know how much they should get?
Yes, that's a pre-order, and I am so happy we did that, and it's something that I'm planning to do with all of my next products. Basically what we did, and this is a sample I saw as I opened it. Oh, this is the sample.
I still use it.
So we created a sample, basically a prototype of the product, and we opened the school community. You announced, hey, I have this bundle, this product, do you want to have it? And we had not manufactured it. All we had was a sample. And we transparently said that this is not yet in manufacturing. It will take time until you receive it. But what it did for us was we tested it with a cold audience, which was very interesting because it showed us, oh, it converts to a cold audience, even though it's a pre-order.
Yeah.
And what we also did is we announced it to your community and your audience. And we were able to sell around 600-ish in 1 week. It was just like 8 days or something like that.
It was really good.
It was very quick. And with that, not only did we generate sales, of course, but it was validation. And for someone who's starting out that needs some additional funding to make this possible, it can be a really good way to see, is this something that people want? And can I pay part of my inventory or even all of my inventory with it? Which in our case, it paid for some of the inventory because we then decided, okay, we're not going to create 1,000, we're going to create more based on
the pre-sale
based on the
results.
pre-sale.
Yes.
So it can give you a little bit of a sense of how much you want to order, if you want to pursue the product after all or not, because sometimes if you're not sure if that was the idea, it can also save you before you invest into thousands of pieces that your audience does not want. So it's a good way to test as well.
So exactly, and that's what we did, right? So it cost only, how much does it cost to just produce the sample, right? So just the sample order with the manufacturer.
$200.
$200 to have something like this in your hand, where you can then say, look, here's what I want to have produced. Here's the sample, right? We had all of the content ready in the sample. So we were really able to show to people exactly what they would get. And then say, we are going to place a pre-order depending on how many we pre-selling. This is the timeline it will take. People were very patient. We also took a little, like we set the expectation a little bit longer, and then we had some delays.
We had some delays because we created custom packaging.
Oh yeah, we did that. True.
Because we wanted, and I think it was really worth it because people were so happy about the packaging experience, and also it kept the product safe because we shipped it all around the world as well.
I loved that we did this, but I was surprised how well it worked, how patient people were. And then it was great because it did fund the initial amount that we wanted to order. We then just decided to stock up based on how good the pre-sale was actually going. But I can also see that, for the next product, we'll do this again. And if we should see that the pre-sale is rather weak, well, we can decide to make a lower quantity, or we can even say, look, guys, pre-sale did not go how we thought, and we would refund, and we would probably not do it at all. Yeah. So then you massively reduce your risk, and you still, at least have this one prototype of your method in your hands that you can use for teaching, which I think is really cool. And I'm really looking forward to creating more products. How many products do people on average create with you?
Oh, it's hard to say. There's some people that have created more than I have. Like 10 and more. But I would say most people start with 1, then up to 3 is more like
typically what they have.
More typical, yes. I would say that. And often people will create different types of products that complement each other. So they might have a journal or a planner, and then they have a card deck that complements the product. Or in your case, you also have a second product that complements your whole system.
I think what I still am in the process to really fall in love and explore this product more and more and more. And what I realize is that it actually goes quite deep, the product itself. And there are a few things that I'm already noticing in here. It's when we create another order, there's a few things I would like to add. There's a couple of things where I'm maybe I should reduce this. Yeah. So I feel like there's still so much that I want to do with this product. And then there's a lot of ideas that I already have where I'm just I want to hold off a little bit and really make sure to get this in everyone's hands and get everyone to the point of working with it, implementing it, so that they actually have the transformation from it. Because that's also something we know, right? When people get the result from the product, that's when they will typically buy again. We thankfully already had some reorders here. This is for half a year's time, so we would probably also see some people reorder here. Very excited to see how that kind of plans out. And then for the next products, I think definitely going even deeper into the self-mentoring aspect of it, because that's what people, I think, most appreciate about it, which is a little bit underrepresented right now.
I think so too. And what you just said is very interesting and very important as well, that once you have your product on the market, often that's when your second edition is born, because through your experience and your client's experience using it, you'll notice the nuances that you want to change. And I think it's so underestimated how those tiny refinements actually make a massive difference to your body of work, because it makes you go through it and clean it further up. Yeah. And I love that about physical products, because as you develop your editions, one of my shadow work journals, I am developing a second edition, which is very different to my first edition, because over the time I'm like, oh, I want to change this, I want to adapt this. I learned so much because you're learning over the years as well. So the process of creating really helps you refine. That's something I appreciate about it so much, and I think many people are not aware about that aspect, how powerful that is, just the creation alone.
Yeah. I feel like with our digital space, we are a lot in that digital camera mentality again. So it's like create and forget almost, right? And we forget that people are still using our creations. So we don't necessarily go back and redo that YouTube video with the next information, right? So we barely take the time to give something another thought. And with these products, it's like we use them and we use them again and again. And so they become rounder and deeper and more profounder and more impactful as we use them and refine them. And with that, they also become more impactful for the people themselves. So instead of, always more, always new, always adding, you just go really, really deep in that one area where you're like, that is what actually creates a change in someone. So I think that's probably the thing that hit me completely unexpected, that I didn't see coming at all. Now, maybe the last question is, when you don't have an audience at all, is it still possible for you? It's 2026. Do you still recommend like listing it on Amazon as well? What are all your thoughts around audience size, distribution, marketing it? What's required from somebody who wants to sell well?
Well, I started all my stationery businesses without any audience, right? I always worked with marketplace, which is Amazon, search engine, and people searching for it. Things, however, have changed over the years, and if I started now from the beginning, I would still offer it on Amazon. I would still get that traffic that Amazon has, but I would definitely think more of either partnering up with someone who has an audience to help promote, and Amazon has functionalities for that as well, and build my own audience. That's something I want to think as long term as possible, and I think building a personal brand online either way makes sense. And if you use a product to do that and say like, okay, I'm going to offer it on a platform like Amazon, for example, then you don't necessarily need the audience right away. But I think if you want to think long term, it makes sense to work with a borrowed audience by working with someone who already has one while you develop your own.
I really love that. I also find on Instagram, for example, when I talk about the planner, right? So it's something that's really well received by the audience. Also, when we think of our space and people that build online audiences and give education away, a lot of people assume that they are selling, some sort of predatory high ticket offer, because very often it is the case, right? Or some sort of multi-level marketing opportunity or master resale rights, whatnot. So people are very skeptical of people building personal brands online, because we're always like, what's the intention? And when people see like, oh, the intention is that they have a reasonably priced, pretty physical product, they're like, oh, you go, I see you, so it's not like intimidating or, like questionable, which I understand, right? So a lot of shady things have happened. So and I think that this is something that also from that perspective of audience building is like, you're clearly not threatening, you're clearly doing so. And I think it's also like physical products is something that the real world can get behind. I've shown this to my grandma and she almost cried because she was like, oh, and I'm getting goosebumps. And she was like, is this your name? What? So it's like, everyone can understand what you do and they can respect it. It's something like respectable to have a physical product like this. And so with that, also the audience building, when you want to get into audience building because of this, or, in general, because you know that it's going to be good for you, even if you're just looking for, we talked about our sons today and their jobs of the future. Even if you want to build something blue collar, you probably should build a personal brand, right? So even for no matter what you want to do, it's probably a good starting point. And like we said, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm putting 2,000 on stock. Rather, I'm working towards my first sample because I want to develop a process anyway. I need to create something of value that's tangible anyway. And then maybe just thinking about, okay, getting to my step of having a first prototype of a product in my hands can be a beautiful journey for a complete beginner as well.
Yes, and something that you can share with the world as you're doing it. Like, you don't need to have the finished product in order to build a personal brand. You can even share as you're building it.
Absolutely, you can build it in public.
You can build it in public. And I think that in comparison to some other offers that we can have in the digital space or as coaches, consultants, and so on, I think that there's something wholesome around having a journal and a planner, that even if it's a podcast interview or whatever it might be, it's a non-cringy and non-meme type of entry into somewhere, which I think it's also, it can be a door opener.
Yeah.
And
it's societally accepted to do physical products. It's more societally accepted to do physical products than to do, certain types of online education, which is sad because I feel like it's often misunderstood and it's misjudged because of a few bad players. But physical products definitely, it's harder to game, which is why, it has a good standing. I think, Laura, that was all my questions for you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And if you guys have questions, Laura is also in Grow with Evelyn, in Grow Us, so tag her. And we're going to link all her stuff below. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. It was lovely speaking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Ciao.